gonna be tight. Not too heavy, very manageable. The brushes keep the sawdust off of the belts. Put a little bit of pressure on them. Probably not time to adjust this one yet because it's got to go in and out, so we'll have to adjust that after. So this is a saber tooth 10-degree blade. It's got a very thin kerf. Blade's just very thin. That's not too bad. So today we're going to finish up fine-tuning the sawmill. We're going to set the blade guides and the blade tension and the blade tracking. These are things that every sawmill will need to be checked with a new. My original OS23 Frontier sawmill, when I put it together, it tracked perfectly from the factory, but you still have to check. The other thing is we're going to set up this track in the woods. Now this can be set up two different ways. It can be set up with the factory leveling legs that come with it. It also can be set up with these additional height leveling legs, and we got these so that it's not so far down. I don't really like, there's pros and cons of having the sawmill a little bit off the ground. If it's a little off the ground, it's a little bit easier for the operator to operate. However, once you put these on, it is a little less mobile. Now, I'm not saying we have tractors, so we can move this 8-foot track around pretty good. Now, it's not an 8-foot track, it's longer than 8 foot. However, it's long enough to cut an 8-foot board, 96 inches long. Let's get to it. All right, so now that we've got this open and at a really comfortable level to work, we're gonna go ahead and set up this OS18 sawmill. The first thing I'm gonna do is check the belt. Now, I will say this, on the OS23, when we got it from the factory, I got it set up, the head was set up, the blade tracked perfectly out of the box, the belts were tight, and I had no issues other than the minimum setup stuff that we have to do. So I can see here that this blade, or this belt, is good and tight. It's not, you know, everything is set up perfectly from the factory. Now I do want to mention this. This is a common question I get. It this belt, when it runs and gets warm, it'll flex out, and literally you can see light under it. That's normal. It tracks perfectly. It's a very proven system. The belt has to be this loose to be able to, when you have to replace it, you can just pull it on and off to put a new one on. Your dry belt obviously will be the one that is worn out more often. So what we're going to do now is adjust our blade guides. Now there's an Allen set screw right here. We're just going to loosen that up, and then we're going to loosen these little hex head screws. I believe those are 10mm on mine. And we're just going to leave those where they're, you don't want them so loose that they fall out of the bottom, so just loosen them up where there's a drag. Now what we'll end up doing is moving this in and out. There's a, let me pull one of these off. All right, so this is your blade guide, and you have these two ceramic guides that can be adjusted in. There basically needs to be roughly a piece of paper between the blade on both sides. So you don't want these like just clamped down tight. And then on the back side, if you can see here, there's a bearing. And this bearing is when there's a extreme load. Especially when your blade starts getting dull, there'll be a little bit more load on the blade, and it'll flex backwards. And instead of the blade coming off and tearing, you know, your housing up, the back of the blade will ride here and keep the blade in track. So we're going to keep these blade guides open. We're going to keep this Allen set screw loose so we can move this in around. For now, we're going to go ahead and put the blade back on. All we're going to do now is tighten the blade up and see if the blade tracks on its own. So this is your blade tensioner, and as you tighten this up, it pulls this idler wheel further out and causes the blade to get tension on it. All right, for now we're going to go ahead. I'm going to show you how to install the blade and make sure that the tracking's correct. One thing you want to do on some of the sawmills, when you crank this out on the OS23, I think, and above, when you turn this out, it automatically pulls the wheel out. Well, this one doesn't have the stop that would pull it out, so you would unwind this to a neutral zero and then push it in. And we'll make sure that it's all the way in. All right, so right here is a blade tensioner, and this is our blade tensioner guide. This was how you track the wheel, basically like this. So we're going to go ahead and give it a little bit more positive. My understanding is the positive means the blade comes forward. I have not had to adjust my Frontier OS23's guide. I don't remember the last time. It's probably been 2 years since the blades come in, and they're so close to the second. I mean, you know, so close to the same blade size that the tracking has just always worked. So let's go ahead and give this a little bit of a turn, and now we will. You're going to make little movements. Now we're going to come back over here and see how the tracking works. There is tracking on the far end, but this is pretty much set from the factory. This is the one you generally, on the operator side, is the one you always adjust. Now we're going to, again, just rotate this very slowly, or make sure we didn't get it backwards. Make sure that the tracking is, I think we're onto something here. Again, when you make those turns on the tracking boat over here, you want to do very little turns. Not, I mean, a little bit goes a long way. Well, right now we are at 5 full turns. The spring's got its maximum tension, and we seem to be tracking pretty good. You really want to go through this a lot before you crank the engine up and try to spin this thing over, because once you crank it up and it's powered and it's not right, it's going to throw the blade, and that velocity is going to tear a lot of stuff up. This is, you know, plastic. It's going to scratch it and do bad things. So you definitely want to get this right. Take your time. Just keep making small movements. Zero it in. I'm feeling pretty good about this right now. I'm going to give it maybe another 1/8 of a turn. Not even that much. I just want a little bit more out front. And I'm basing this off of my previous sawmill. Now, this sawmill's blade is thinner, and it is not as, I think it is as wide. It is as wide, but it's not as thick as the OS23's blade is a thicker blade. All right, I'm getting pretty comfortable with it now. We'll have it come out a little bit more. I feel pretty good about that. All right, so we've got the sawmill set up on the trailer, high off the ground. I've got the head raised up high off the ground, and this is so that Tanya can be able to see it easy with the camera, and also it's easy for me to work on, easy for you to see what's going on. Yours will be a little bit lower to the ground, most likely, if you've already set it up, or you could take a tractor and set it up on something too. It's not terribly heavy, but anyway, we're going to go ahead now and set the blade tensioner guides. So these guides have bearings in the back, and you're just going to slide the bearings or the guides forward until they touch the bearings. You don't want a lot of pressure on them. You just want a little bit of just a graze, if you will. And we're not going to tighten them down right now. We're just going to keep them pulled forward where the bearing is barely touching, and then we're going to just put a little pressure on it, because we're still going to be able to move this back and forth. The next thing we're going to do is you're going to take your blade guide. There's a little set screw here on the sides, little Allen screws, and you're going to, these little I think they're ceramic guides, will go up and down. These have got a lot of life in them. Let me take one of them out so you can see it. So these are the Teflon guides, or ceramic guides, I'm sorry, ceramic guides. And I have yet to have to replace my guides. All right, with the guides pulled forward, we're going to take the ceramic guide and push it up. I just put it enough pressure that I just maybe just no pressure at all, just enough to graze the blade. And then the top one, we'll back the little hex head screw off. I think this is 10 millimeter. Now that's going to drop down. Again, we don't want a lot of pressure. We'll do the bottom one again. And this is why I say you don't want to tighten this up. You're still going to need a little bit of movement left and right. Now you'll see there's a little bit of play in there. If I've done this right, we should be able to get a piece of paper on the top and the bottom. I think I like that. That's worked very well for me. Now you're going to make sure that you're looking at this straight. Make sure this is lined up with the blade. And this is where we're going to tighten this set screw down pretty tight. This is absolutely not what the manual says to do. The manual's way more in depth. This is just something that I've learned to do on the OS23, which use the same blade guides, and it's worked really well for me. I don't have a lot of wavy cuts. Setting it up like this has done really good for me. Okay, we're going to do the second one. Again, we're going to just put a little bit of pressure forward. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to push the little brass brush into the belt and tighten the little nuts up here on the inside. There's a couple of sets of nuts. This one pretty much is going to stay stationary. You'll just have to adjust it as it wears. This one you're going to have to loosen up and pull back each time you change a blade out because the wheel's going to want to go forward. And this is one thing I think I spoke about this in previous portion of this video. You'll see how this belt is pushed out. There's a space here. That is totally okay. That is just the way it works. So don't fret over this portion right here. That's normal tracking for this wheel. So this thing came from the factory with a belt tension set. It feels really good, it's fine. But if you guys are interested in seeing a video of how to properly tension this belt, just let me know in the comment section. I'll be, if you want it, I'll do it. It's not overly complicated, and it's in the directions pretty clearly. But if you're interested in the video, just let me know. All right, what we're going to do right here is this is the cooling tube. The fluid flows down. We're going to just use water. So you're going to just gently bend it around. It's made out of aluminum, so it's not really that hard to bend, but you don't want to kink it. And we want it where the water will flow on the blade. That's the ticket. So you want it where the water flows on the blade, but you don't want it sticking out very far because then it'll drag on the wood as you go by. So once we got that done, we'll go ahead and tighten this little screw up back here. On the back side here, there's a little set screw, and you don't want to crank down on it because this again is aluminum tube and you can crush it. You just want to snug it up so that it's not vibrating around. That's all there is to that. Now we're going to put our blade guard back in, and then I think we're ready to button this portion up. All right, so all I'm going to do is go through this now and spray just a little. I use PB Blaster or some other liquid lubrication sprays. That's pretty good PB Blaster though. It has lubrication properties. Also right here where the cable wraps around, this is the tensioner to keep the head from going up and down, or keep, you know, it says to add a little oil every day. It shows to do spray it every day with some oil. It says replace this cable every 250 hours. Well, I've been doing the oil every day, and my cable shows no wear on this portion or this portion. These are two different cables, but just keeping them lube makes them last. Next thing we're going to do is add the oil. And if you look right in here, there's an oil, I don't know if you can see it with my hand in here, but there's an actual oil filler cap. There's one on either side, so whichever one is easier to get to. This would probably be easier to do from the top, but since I already have this up on the trailer, I'm going to do it down here. This has a dipstick on this side. On the other side, there's not a dipstick, so we'll call this the side, the gray one. We're going to fill it up to the very bottom of the thread that shows high. So I'm using BP full synthetic 10W30 oil. Yeah, not a horrible mess, but still a mess. It was about a half a quart to fill that up. It wasn't much now. So now we're going to put the legs on the sawmill track, and we have two different setups. Now, when we got ours, we ordered the tall legs to go with it. So if you're going to do the tall legs, when you get it, you're going to install these legs here in place of this one little bracket. I'm going to take this opportunity to just go ahead and install the standard ones that come with it. And what we'll do then is just try it. I want to try it down low and see how we like that, and then we'll go ahead and put the sawmill into its permanent position. We're going to put it on concrete. I was just looking at how to do this. Sure that's not in the owner's manual.
Make cool candle faces.
Heck yeah, that's what this is all about. Candle bases.
Candle holders.
a bad starting off point, right? All the legs are within whatever the tolerance of this trailer is. Right now I just need to go get, let's see, I need to get 3 6x6s. So I'm gonna cut them in half. So they'll be 4 foot, they're 8 foot long. So they'll be 4 foot on each one. Just don't let them get on you. So don't let them get on you. Oh, you got that on there. All right. This spot's pretty level. Mm-hmm. And it don't have to be that big when our trail goes off that way. So
Easy access.
yeah, pretty level. I don't think it take a lot of work to get the sawmill level here.
I think it will be a good spot.
So if you guys don't know, anyway,
All right.
So this area is going to work really good. We set the flow mower up, or I had it set up for mowing. It's like 3.5 inches tall. So there's little stobs everywhere that we're going to have to come in with a hatchet and chop off. But it's still a whole lot easier, and it mulched everything up. I like that. I think we're going to set the sawmill. Oops, easy, buddy. We're going to set the sawmill at an angle so that we can come from the cabin there to up here to bring a log. That it's going to be easy to get into. But we can put a big rope across here from side to side, and put we can make a tent canvas, or a tent over the top of it. So I don't want to, this is a permanent location, but still I don't want just water on it. And that one day that we're out here working in the sawmill, cutting stuff, and it starts raining, one of those showers, we got some coverage there. So let's talk about, I want to say one other thing. So you guys that don't understand what we're doing, we're taking you guys along the trip with us. So whenever, this is where the sawmill goes, right? This area right here. However, we had to have an area brush hogged down over here, or mulch down over here, and we had to have an area mulch down over there, and we had to have an area mulch down over here, so that Tanya has somewhere to put the camera. Without, every time we do something like this, we have to have the area a little bit bigger, and there's like little lanes that go off, so that she has a place to stand with the cameras, because otherwise...
you wouldn't get these cool shots.
Yeah, you wouldn't get the cool shots. All right, so let's talk about getting the sawmill back here. For you guys that are watching our channel, last year we put a gate in on our new property, and we're going to have to bring that sawmill down that road and get it here, and then come down to the cabin and then make a turn with it and come back up this trail. We'll take right there.
Well, you went through the brushes, so we need guineas.
Guineas. Hey, ask you guys out there that watch our channel, are guineas as good for ticks as people say they are? I don't.
Yes, they are.
She's never had one, so she don't really know.
Research.
Yes. I mean, it was on the internet. It's got to be true. All right, let's get to it.
All right. Gizmo, you ready? Come on, let's go.
So you realize this is the first time we've opened that gate since we installed it. What, it's been at least a year?
I think so.
Don't let me hit nothing. Don't hit anything, that's right. Thanks for the moral support. All right, I'm gonna put it in low range and 4-wheel drive. What now? Yeah, we don't want the deer to get out. Gizmo, you're gonna be locked out, buddy. You're done now. You can't get in here no more. All right, so for you guys that are watching us do this, what she's gonna do is move the camera forward, because I need her actually to need you to
your eyes.
be my eyes. We got to zigzag between these trees, because it's so she's gonna have to help me do that, and you won't get the fine camera work normally that you get. So this is one of those things that you know, it doesn't take but just one little incident and I've bent this and then we're messed up. Gotta pay attention too, because we're gonna be going up and down hills. I left the backhoe on this tractor because of the extra ballast doing this. Good? I'm having a hard time seeing you. Okay. So it clears out from here. Pretty good. That's the rough spot back there. That's wider. I'm gonna have to go in and go like that and come across. But I don't want to tear my sawmill up, but if I do, I want it on camera. This is gonna be tight. Watch both sides. Ta-da. So we stopped by and show you the cabin along the way. This is our cabin. I think I'm in the living room. I'm not really sure.
Tony went down the hole.
Yeah, I went down the hole. Anyway, that's another whole thing. Let's go move the sawmill. These guys didn't come to hear about our cabin. A lot of that wood and stuff that we're going to do off the sawmill is going to go to this cabin. That's the reason we're bringing it here. All right, this is going to be. I'm gonna make this turn.
Will you like me to do it?
Well, if you bend it, or you want to put up with all my griping.
Well, either way, I'm gonna hear you griping.
That's true. I think we're fine now. I gotta get around that. Hey, I'm gonna hit that log over here. No, I guess I missed it. I want it between those two trees so I can put the rope pin over it. It looks, yeah, so the back side is probably 8 inches higher on that end, maybe 4 inches higher on this end.
This way. Too much, too much. Just a little. And then back it up some more. Just a little bit. Where you going? The wrong way. You're going the wrong way.
I'm going the way the dirt is.
I get it, but you don't get, if you're going to work with the tractor, get locks in that, you need to go up this way more.
Water's gonna stand right here.
High spot. Adjust it down later.
So let me tell you what we did. Yesterday we got this out here and we made a little small area, set it up. Pretty much the sawmill was spot on. And then we decided we had to go somewhere last night the epiphany hit me that there really wasn't enough room back here to comfortably work on the back side of the sawmill, because sometimes things are going to get back here, there's going to be sawdust and stuff. So what I did is I went ahead and dug into this hillside a little bit to make this level. We still have a little bit more work to do. I'm going to take the backhoe and pull a little small ditch down the back side of this and drain it down this way so that the water will never, we want this to be dry. So this is going to be, it's just a lot better. I think it's a lot better. We also learned a whole lot about setting this up again. So the last sawmill I set up, I built my own trailer and set it on there, and you know, that was no-brainer, too easy, right? The trailer was already pretty much perfectly level, so I just had to set the sawmill on there and level it. When you're doing it out in the woods, obviously the terrain's not the terrain's not going to work with you. So on this small one, and it would obviously be more difficult the longer it is, but we have the outer 4 legs holding the weight of this up. The rest of these are just dangling. So what we're going to do is we're going to set it straight and level and work it like this and get it level on the outside 4 legs, and then come in and apply pressure and seat these center platforms. And the center ones are the ones that's going to get a load, you know, so this is something we're going to have to come back and address after we put a couple of logs on this. The weight is going to, you know, settle this thing in. So we'll probably, you know, run 2 or 3 logs through it and then come back and readdress level one more time. your sawmill is going to only be as good as how level it is. All right, so I'm going to start off from, gosh, we're really close. This end needs to come up just a little bit, or in our case, this end needs to go down just a little bit. Not much though, maybe. So put about 3 turns down on each one. Oh my goodness, that's close. This side is level. I could take, gosh, maybe a little bit more here.
Pretty good too.
Yeah, that one could go down just a little more. Yeah, we're good. All right, so now we've done end to end. Now we have to do side to side, and this is not as critical, but it's just a good practice. So we're going to go side to side. So, but the fact of the matter is, if your sawmill track is off a little bit, it's still going to be square to the bunk. So if you're left or right, just ever so little, it'll still cut straight. But if you're going to set it up, you might as well. So theoretically, because I had to lower them both the same amount to make this level, this one should still be pretty close to level. And I'll take that. So now we'll check one more time. Let's level this way. Got a little dip in the middle. There is some flexibility here, that's why I'm starting in the middle. There, it's perfect. On there, it's going to wiggle it, settle in. So here's a neat little feature on this new sawmill. It's got its own wedge built in, so you can set a log in. I'm going to tighten that up, and then set your log in with a tractor if you want to, and it keeps it from rolling off. Or you can just take this off, and then when you got your log sitting there, you just slide it back on, boop, right up against the log. Anyway, let's go put the sawmill on.
All right, let's get at it.
So I'm going to put these backstops down out of the way, so when we go to set the top on, it'll be okay.
You want to go ahead and take the end pieces off so you can set it on?
What?
The end pieces.
No, we can't do that. That's made for like on blacktop.
To set the sawmill on it on the track.
Forks and.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not picking it up. I mean, if you got a sawmill that's at your house and you can put it in out of your garage, you can take those end pieces off there, and you can roll the sawmill up and then just kind of tilt it up on it, and that's very doable. But out here in the woods, it's just not feasible.
Okay. Well, let's go get it.
Let's go get it. I just need it on one hook. I hate to ask you to do this, but put it on the other fork, because that fork is closer to the other side. You got it on the one that's furthest away. You make the chain longer, but not that long. Yeah, that'll work. All right, you're gonna have to rotate it and set it on the track. Hey, will you move that one thing off? That one stop in the middle. It's gonna go down when when I lower it, it's gonna go that way. So here we go.
It needs to go over some more.
I'm working on it. It's out there on the very tip. We'll get close and then we'll get close.
You gotta go forward more.
Okay, I'm working on it. Hang on. I'm going down. Now that we've got the track laid down and we're really comfortable with its level being level both ways, we're going to go ahead now and make sure that our head is level left to right. Got the gizmo dog in the woods back there. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your saw head and move it up, and you can take your tape measure and make sure that the distance is exactly the same. When you lift the cable up, you need to lift it off of the, right now it's sitting on the actual carriage. So we're going to tighten this up a little bit, pick it up off the carriage, and you can do a measurement now, and that's perfectly okay. This is a rough cut sawmill. You're never going to get it 100% perfect. It's just not going to happen. That's not what it's meant for. But you can get really, really close, and that's what we're going to try to do. And a trick that we use is use a torpedo level. This is machine surface. We've already seen that this is level here. So all we're going to do is go up, and all we're trying to do right now is go side to side to see what our level is. Again, you're never going to be perfect, so I'm going to come over here and watch the blade and listen to it. I'm going to hear a little drag. Just a hint of a drag. That's as close as we're going to get. And on the other side, it's pretty much spot on. These cables, I have pretty much the same amount of threads out here on both sides, and I mean, these cables are fairly accurate. You can see right now that there's just no need for an adjustment anymore. So you would probably want to tighten these lock nuts down just to be sure that they're secure. I've already tighten mine down. That one was tight, but we got it extra tight. So I feel pretty happy with the overall blade adjustment. Once you have your head level left to right, then you're going to set your actual gauge to the, so you know exactly how high the blade is off of the deck. And that's very, very important information, so make sure that you do this one right. My torpedo level is 2 5/16 inches tall. I think it's metric, but that's what it comes out onto a ruler. So right now I am literally just right there. I'm touching. I mean, and I maybe have the tooth of the blade tilted just a tiny bit to compensate for center. Because the pitch of your teeth goes left pitch, center pitch, right pitch, something like that. Yeah. Now all we're going to do is move this down. So this is a plastic gauge here, so you definitely don't want to crank down on this. You just want to have enough pressure off of it so that you can slide it up and down. Right now it should be on 2 5/16, which is about right there. So again, this is not accurate, super accurate. This is not a CNC machine. This is a rough cut sawmill. I've seen guys spend days out here trying to perfectly get their sawmill in perfect level, and the first time they put a log on it and bump it, it's all going to be out a little bit anyway. So go ahead and take these nuts, and again, you're going to just tighten them. You're just going to snug them because this gauge is plastic. No sense in crushing it, just put it down tight. So there, your head is set. When it says 3 inches, it's 3 inches above the deck height. So if you run the hoover and cut right now, you would come out with a 3-inch board. This is probably the most misunderstood gauge that in the frontier sawmill industry. So this is your secondary gauge. So the red line here is always going to be from the deck height. So right now we're at 6.5 inches to the deck height. So if you cut a log right now, it would be 6.5 inch cant. You'd make a 6.5 inch cant. The blue line is for when you first cut a log. So you got a round log laying on the deck, and you make your first cut, and you cut the scab off, and you have a flat spot. So right now, let's say we just cut the flat spot off of the first log, and we want to cut quarters. So we're going to slide this down. So we're going to be cutting 1-inch boards. So 4 quarters, right there's 4 quarters. And what that means, that 4 quarters is 4 quarters of an inch and enough extra to take into account for the blade curve. So every time you cut a log, you lose a little bit of thickness on the blade curve. So now we are on 4 quarters, and we're gonna go down and cut a 1-inch board. So we're just gonna rotate it down to 4, and we cut this, it'll be a perfectly 1-inch board. I think that's right. So we're gonna put gas in it now for the first time. This is a little 7 horsepower engine. We've already put oil in it. We got the blade tightened up. So I think we're ready to do this. I'm kind of excited. I think we're ready to start. So it comes from the factory with the fuel off. So we're going to turn that to the on position. I hear a little like gurgling, I guess the fuel coming down through it. We'll turn the choke to the on position. Over here on this side is the on and off, the electric switch. You got to make sure that the front cover's on. It has a safety switch. If the front cover's not on, it will not start. So here goes. First pull. How about that? The backfiring scared the crap out of me, but are you snarling at it, buddy? Come on over here. Before I adjust the throttle out, I'm going to go ahead and try the emergency kill switch. So that works. And to reset it, you just turn the knob and it pops back out. Let's see if it cranks back up. That's awesome. First pull. Let me turn the choke back on. I can tell already that right here the throttle doesn't have enough throttle pulled out. Let's go look at the blade. Before we adjust the throttle, let's check the blade tracking. May have to adjust probably just the newness of the belt. No, it's not melting. It's just burning the new off the engine. Let's double check everything. There's the electric emergency switch. All right, we just made our first cut, and let me show you what we've got going on. I could hear a squealing noise. I guess I can't show you, but I can tell you. I heard it like a belt squealing. And what I found is that this shroud right here, this housing, is a little close to this belt. You can see the black mark right here where it's actually, the belt is rubbing on it. So I off camera, I kind of looked it over. I see what to do. Now this sawmill come in a crate, and I'm telling you that not all carriers treat the crate good. Still takes a pretty good size, bouncing along the way.
A beating.
A beating. And it could have been that this has been bumped up during shipping. I mean, it's a possibility that when they set this up, it looked good at the factory, but this needs to go down probably quarter inch or so. There's 12 bolts. There's 2 or 3 up here, 3 here, 3 there, 3 at the bottom. So it's 3 or 6 on each side, 3 at the top. They're relatively easy to get to, it looks like. I don't see this is going to be a hard adjustment. This is not really a fix, this is an adjustment. So what I'm going to do is just loosen all these up. You don't have to take them off, you just need to loosen them. So I got 3 here and then 3 here. Let me loosen them up and I'll be right back with you. So again, what I've done is I've loosened 12 bolts. There are 12 nuts and bolts. There's 3 here at the top. There's 3 here at the bottom. Same on both sides. And this holds the shroud on. That's all it does. So now that I've got them loose, all I'm going to do is just come right here. You don't want to push it down so far that it's going to rub at the top, but you want to just bump it. You can see it slide down on the little grooves. Now, as that goes down, it gives it more room here as well. So let's see here. Yeah, this has slid down quite a bit now. And that's a nice amount of room. That belt's not going to reach out there anymore. Now what I want to do before we button this up and tighten everything up, I'm going to look around and make sure there's no chance that the sawmill is going to hit anywhere else, because we have moved the shroud. It's very forgiving though, so I don't see anything that would make me think, it's nothing I see that would worry me. So this one I'm not worried about, because this belt doesn't flex, because this is an idler pulley, and this belt has to be loose enough to remove the belt. You can see where I can pull it off. That belt has to be loose enough so that you can swap that belt out as it wears. That's a wear item. So it automatically always kind of flops. And it just has to be far enough away from this to take into account that flop. And apparently, like I said, in shipping, this thing could have got bumped. There's no telling what, but it's too easy to fix. So if you guys run into that where you hear the belt squealing, check right here. That would be my guess, but I don't see anything that worries me at all. I have a little valve over here on this side. I'm going to turn it off. And I'm only running water. So this is our log that we're going to be using. This is a black cherry. This one here I think is about 97, yeah, a little over 97 inches long. We're going to have to clip the ends because it's been sitting out for a long time and the ends are split. Our sawmill is only rated at 96 inches. Let me show you. So this sawmill, like I said, is rated at 96 inches. And if I put the log right here in the center, it'll handle 8 foot all day long. However, I think we'll eventually get another extension. We'll have to move it. And I think we're going to put it up on concrete pad and legs. At least a more permanent structure than this. However, seems like it's going to work pretty good. The logs you're going to cut on this are pretty easy. And I could have just put the backstops up and done like that, but this is very level, pretty straight log. I think it'll be okay. So when you first start, you need to make sure that you look down both sides of the log so you can see your log stops in line with your blade. There's those who will cut their back stops and there's those who have. So you don't want to do it and knock some blades out. So this is scary. It says it'll cut down to 1 inch. I've got it set on the lowest little hook right here. Everything looks like it will cut 1 inch, but that's going to be so close to these backstops. It's scary, but it's supposed to do it, so I'm going to try it. Veneer.
Frontier, the frog.
All right, so that's our first log on the sawmill. This is the OS18. It's a little bit different than the OS23. I think it's going to make a great resaw saw for the OS23. It's also going to allow us to have some smaller logs back here that it's worth our time to get this stuff out of here. This is all black cherry. We got some pretty good board feet that will be used in the in the upcoming cabin build. I'm excited about all this. Guys, you got any questions, leave a comment.